Oh, pardon me, stranger.
Oh, it's no problem.
Linkara!
Yes?
What are you doing in my store?
You don't own this store.
Well, I don't own it, but I mean, if you think about all the comics I've bought over the years, I'm probably like a Look, that's not the point. What are you doing in this store?
I came to see you, geek. You see, you and I have a lot in common. We both review comic books on the website. One of us is successful. The other is you. I came here to lend my services to you.
Well, that's very generous of you, but I don't think we have enough in common to do a review together. I mean, you like to review bad comics on atop the fourth wall. I like to review a comic and let it stand on its own merits. You like to review older comics. I like to review newer ones. I just don't think there's enough in common there for us to do a review.
Hey guys, look. I just got this off of eBay. $100 mint. It's like I'm making money.
Get him. Come on, you little son of a bitch. Come on. Come on.
Feel our pain!
Wait. Enjoy the show. Get him!
Let's just pray they never find the body.
Yeah. Wait a minute, Linkara! Our murderous hatred of Joe Quesada's Spider-Man retcon means we do have something in common. And if that's the case, then I know the perfect comic for us to review. It's new, and it's definitely bad.
Wait a minute, you don't mean...
On today's episode of Comic Book Issues, we're going to review Spider-Man, One Moment in Time. After the controversial Spider-Man story One More Day, fans were left with a lot of questions that they wanted answers to. And a mere 3 years and 93 issues later, Joe Quesada decided to give it to them. And boy, did he give it to us. Hard. This story is called One Moment in Time, and it starts by answering the first of our many questions. Question 1. What did MJ offer Mephisto at the end of Spider-Man One More Day?
Answer? Not a goddamn thing. She says Peter will only go through with it if she agrees to the deal, so Mephisto has to leave Peter alone.
And he agrees! My God, I've never seen such an accommodating embodiment of pure evil before. We then dive into flashbacks illustrated by Paulo Rivera, as well as actual pages from Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 21, the issue where Peter and Mary Jane got married. It seems Electro's up to no good, but it doesn't take long for Spidey to squash the baddie and to web up one of his thugs, Eddie Muerta. While said thug is cooling in the back of a patrol car, Eddie escapes after a red pigeon arrives and unlocks the door. So, Mephisto's plan to undo Spider-Man's marriage was to turn into a...
red pigeon.
Huh. We continue our path down the special edition of the annual, as both MJ and Peter face doubts over their wedding. Peter goes web-slinging, only to be interrupted by Eddie's attempts to kill his arresting officer. While Spider-Man is up on top of a water tower, Eddie hurls a cinder block that hits Peter in the head. A cinder block gets hurled 20 feet or so into the air with astonishing accuracy by a normal human being. Yeah, right. Eddie runs, but falls off the roof, and Spider-Man goes to save him. Unable to land a web, Spidey and Eddie crash to the ground below. The next morning, as MJ arrives at her wedding, she finds Peter isn't there.
Question 2. What happened to make Peter and MJ not get married?
Answer. Like so many of us on the night before their wedding, he spent the night under a fat man. Part 2 opens with Spider-Man searching the city for Mary Jane, only to find her at his apartment. When confronted with the fact that his being Spider-Man once again got in the way of their happiness, Mary Jane has a "you go girl" moment and tells Peter they're through. But after talking to her Aunt Anna, who reminds MJ that Peter loves her and seeing all the good Spider-Man does, she comes back to Peter. MJ admits that she wants kids, but equates being Spider-Man to the abuse she took from her father, as it's Peter's loved ones who pay the price for his deeds. So without kids in the picture, she doesn't need to be married to Peter, and the couple gets back together. We then jump ahead into the recent past of Marvel's Civil War, where Peter unmasked and Aunt May was shot. We go through the events of One More Day, and we see Aunt May begin to flatline, only for Peter Parker to pound her chest with his super strength and somehow not turn his aunt into old lady pudding. Question 3. How is Aunt May's life saved in the new timeline?
Answer! Peter performs basic first aid. This somehow heals a bullet wound in the heart.
Word gets back to the Kingpin that Aunt May is going to survive the bullet she took, so he arranges for a hitman to start eliminating certain targets. This leads to MJ's Aunt Anna getting spooked, so MJ leaves the hospital to go look after her. She finds her aunt being held at gunpoint by El Diablo, famed lucha libre wrestler. Well, no, not really. One broken lamp and a chase scene later, MJ and the wrestler get mauled by dogs, and the wrestler makes it clear that the Kingpins put a hit out on MJ's entire family. Meanwhile, Anna reaches Peter, and he comes swinging into the rescue, only to find that Mr. Wrestling 5 is actually Eddie Muerta.
Oh my God! Never in the history of Spider-Man has his failure to stop a crook come back to haunt him so badly!
This is completely original, folks! Spider-Man's actions coming back to haunt him? Completely original!
Now that's sarcasm. Peter takes MJ over to Dr. Strange's for a healing spell and then begs Strange to restore his secret identity. Issue 4 opens with Dr. Strange consulting Tony Stark and Mr. Fantastic on how to wipe the world's memories. Eventually, they figure out how, leaving only Peter with the knowledge that he unmasked to the world.
Question 4. How did Spider-Man make the world forget his identity?
Answer! He cried a lot. And then his friends felt guilty and they made everyone forget for him. As the spell takes place, Peter decides that he can't erase MJ's memories and takes her with him into the protective bubble. However, upon learning what Peter's done, MJ eventually asks the question, why didn't you just let me forget too? She feels it's just a matter of time before he makes a mistake, someone discovers his secret identity, and she pays the price. MJ tells him that she can no longer handle being Peter's girl after all the terrible things Eddie said to her and the beating she took. Peter is called away to check on Aunt May, and while there, MJ gets in a cab and leaves Peter, thus ending their relationship. Back in the present, MJ lets Peter know she loves him enough never to be with him again because she is not strong enough. It's time for Peter to let go of their relationship so he can find that special someone who's out there. And the story ends with Peter happily web-slinging away. Wow, what a completely unsubtle way to tell all of us who want Peter and MJ back together to go fuck off. But at least Omit answered all of our lingering questions.
But wait a minute. They never explained how Peter lost his organic web shooters.
It's magic. They don't need to explain it.
Fail. If One More Day was the character assassination for Peter Parker, then One Moment in Time is the same for Mary Jane. In fact, it very obviously tries to retroactively shift all of our complaints for Spider-Man's actions during One More Day onto her.
Mary Jane Watson was once known for her spirit and her willingness to fight for Peter, but in this story she comes off like an abused housewife. In fact, she equates being Spider-Man's significant other to spousal abuse. Yet instead of leaving him after being stood up at the altar, which is what I'd expect MJ to do, she comes crawling back. This is because Quesada has insisted that all the stories between the wedding and One More Day happened exactly as you remember them, except MJ and Peter weren't married. But if all these stories happened as we remember them, does that mean Peter and MJ once had a kid? That's right, the infamous Spider Baby, who was supposedly either killed or kidnapped by the Green Goblin and never mentioned again. Well, the whole line MJ gives about not wanting to have children if they aren't married seems specifically directed at this long-standing controversy. And Joe Quesada has said the child is no longer in continuity. But I thought everything happened as before. Well, not unless Joe Quesada feels it's inconvenient to the character's history. Also, the idea that Mary Jane only wanted to get married so they could have kids is 1950s thinking. It's pretty old-fashioned for MJ, and frankly not keeping in tune with her reasons for getting married to Peter in the first place. Omit also seems to end the Peter and MJ relationship, which a very vocal fanbase wants restored. Marvel editor Tom Brevoort in an interview said that many of the people he talked to didn't like OMD because it seemed to end Peter and MJ's relationship. But he said, and I quote, "What was fascinating to me was how they thought Peter and Mary Jane's love story was emphatically over. In comics, it's never over. There's always possibility. At one point, Mary Jane told Peter that they'd find each other again, that this was their fate. Who's to say she's wrong?" Joe Quesada, because that's the ending of Omit. MJ tells Peter it's over. Mephisto wins. He's the greatest villain in all of Marvel because he screwed over the hero and got away with it. And speaking of Mephisto, let me quote Joe Quesada on Omit. MJ unknowingly beat Mephisto at his own game. By agreeing to MJ's terms, Mephisto has actually wiped himself from ever having been involved in their lives. In fact, looking at it linearly, these 4 issues never happened. Along with the wedding, One More Day and Mephisto have been wiped out of continuity, and Peter and MJ never made that bargain. Are you kidding me? Why would Mephisto show up in a reality where they never got married? He already changed reality and got what he wanted. Has Joe never seen a single science fiction show? In fact, Marvel editor Glenn Greenberg has stated that time travel in the Marvel Universe doesn't work like that. Mephisto's actions should have created an alternate universe. These are the rules, Joe. You can't just break them whenever you want. Now, I love MJ, but ain't no way she's outsmarting the devil, even by accident. He's an ancient, malevolent being. He ain't getting fooled by no Mary Jane Watson. One moment in time hurts bad, because the characters we love get a ton of crap piled on them, and they don't handle it like the heroes they're supposed to be. Omit is really Mary Jane's story, but it feels like it's her farewell story, as she breaks under the stress of being in Peter's life. The story insults our intelligence and love for these characters, and in no uncertain terms tells us to move on. I understand what Joe Quesada was trying to accomplish with OMD and Omit. I understand wanting to hang on to the spirit of a character, but trying to stop characters from evolving just hurts their long-run effectiveness.
Okay, I'm going to be real generous here. I give Spider-Man One Moment in Time half a star. And that is only for Paulo Rivera's art. This guy is a superstar in the making. It's just a shame that his first high-profile work had to be this donkey turd of a story. It's like if OMD is a punch in the nuts, then One Moment in Time is that puncher coming back, straddling your chest, and just wailing on your balls the moment you start to get some feeling back.
I didn't even like it that much. This is so obviously a story that Quesada hadn't thought out. Omit is the result of having to fill the hole left by One More Day. And it actually makes One More Day a worse story. My God, how is that possible?
If only there was something we could call Quesada, a non-offensive 4-letter word that would let everyone know just how unprofessional he is.
Fine. Joe Quesada, you are a hack! And that's doing a disservice to all the actual hacks out there.
I want that on a t-shirt. Well, everyone, this wraps up another episode of Comic Book Issues. Linkara, thanks for joining us. And hey, who knows, maybe someday I can come on atop the 4th wall.
No. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Linkara, and I'm a moron!
And I'm the Last Angry Geek, and I hope to someday be a man.
You see, you and I have a lot in common. We both review comic books on the website. One of us is successful, and still flubs the line regardless. There's one of us is
One of us is successful.